Guidebook series, Taking the Kids. They're available wherever books are sold. Debbie, will travel back over to you.
All right. And also, your author, your interview, too, with Eileen.
Yeah.
Tonight on 48 Hours, our vacation time.
The Travel Industry Association tells us 125 million families have some kind of travel plans. And if you take the kids, you really won't be alone.
Eileen Ogintz is an expert on traveling with kids. She writes a column about it. She gave us some tips on what to
Rubber
pack.
snake is always good when things get really bad. The thing about today's parents is they kind of hold vacations up as the holy grail to make up for all the time they've missed. In fact, get the kids to turn to their computer and click on a good website that has a lot of stuff for families. Now, I really like Expedia.com. They've just launched a big family site, which includes my column.
You've written books, not just but books on this. Why don't you give us a sample?
What a piece of rope. not to tie
hang yourself by.
No, this is so they can make a tent.
Yeah, don't make me come back there.
It's not exactly getting away from it all when you travel during the Christmas holidays. Eileen Ogintz says that you'd better pack a plan.
Worst case scenario, and inevitably you're going to be delayed, either if you're driving or flying. So be prepared.
The airline industry expects to see hundreds of thousands of children between 5 and 12 traveling alone this year. Eileen Ogintz is a travel expert and the author of the syndicated column, Taking the Kids. This morning she joins us from Newark International Airport. Okay, when a child is flying alone, does the airline accept all responsibility for that child until the final destination?
Absolutely, until they're picked up at the other end from the time you drop them off.
The question comes up, how old does a child have to be before they're allowed to travel alone?
Believe it or not, they can fly as little as 5. If the kids have never flown before, take a trip out to the airport, show them the gate, reassure them if it's going to be a little bumpy, what to expect. Play the what-if game. What if your flight comes in early and nobody's there to get you? What if you're delayed or diverted? Most important, they've got to know not to leave the airport with a stranger.
Kids and travel safety, visit our website at cbs.com on the internet.
From NBC News, this is Today.
Eileen Ogintz. Eileen, welcome and good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Talk about places we can take Mom. What kinds of vacations are you recommending?
Well, I think with grade school kids, something that's really big this year are adventure trips.
Send her away on her own.
Right, I think that's a great idea, if you can afford it. You think about sending her away for a day. Exactly. A day of beauty.
In Women's Day magazine, you feature a number of these great memory builders. One of them is an annual date.
So what you want to do is take the kids out of a regular routine, and we should underscore that none of these things have to be expensive.
Attitude. My next guest says one big mistake that a lot of drivers make, staying behind the wheel too long. Eileen Ogintz writes the syndicated column, Taking the Kids, and is also author of Are We There Yet?
This morning's parental guidance segment.
Long holiday weekend is coming up. Morning by Eileen Ogintz. She is the writer of a nationally syndicated column called Taking the Kids. She joins us with some tips about how we're all going to survive these road trips. Good morning. One of the key things I gather is to pack.
Thing you do after they're buckled up, hand them a roll of quarters.
Why?
Well, give them a roll of quarters every time they slug their brother, smack their sister. You take a quarter away, but whatever they've got at the end, that's $10. Next thing, masking tape. Very simple. They can mark off their own space in the back. You want the kids to help navigate. Give them each a laminated map, and they can help mark the route.
Florida's always a hot spot. We're sitting in one right now, Colonial Williamsburg. Williamsburg's celebrating its 300th anniversary this year. One thing I really like about road trips is you can take an extra kid along with you, and when you have a teenager, that can make the difference.
Let the kids to help talk about what they want to do and where they want to go. The more they're involved, the happier everyone's going to be. They'll get you to do things you never in a million years would have done.
A lot of families are planning their summer vacations.
But as Andrea Watkins reports, there may be a way to squeeze 2 trips into one.
More parents are mixing business with pleasure because it can be a good experience for both parent and child, and the company pays your part of the tab. Business travelers are also finding accommodations that are more family-friendly.
Ping-ponging the globe, leaving family behind.
maybe you're missing out on some quality time with your kids.
And if you're thinking, oh, I could never do that, or my boss would never let me do that, maybe all you need to do is ask.
Eileen Ogintz writes a syndicated travel column called Taking the Kids. She says there will be more than 100 million trips with kids this summer alone, and the travel industry is getting the message.
A company like Homewood Suites was discovering that a fourth of their business travelers, of their customers, were bringing kids along.
One of many hotels offering special family services. They'll even stock your room's refrigerator with your choice of food, so you can prepare a meal the minute you check in. And some Holiday Inn resorts are offering nighttime entertainment for kids by showing movies at the pool. But at what age should you consider bringing your kids along?
It depends on where you're going. I mean, if you're going to Orlando, for example, and you can take someone with you to help watch the kids, 5 or 6 is fine, and then you get your work done and then you go to Disney. If you're going to a city like New York or Chicago or LA or something like that, maybe you want to wait till they're older.
Ogintz says that it's always a good idea to bring another adult on the trip, make your child understand it's work before play, and involve them in planning activities. You may also want to bring just one child per trip to have true quality time together.
It can really be a sweet memory, and I think those Kodak moments are what we're all after with our kids, and this is one way to make it work.
Ogintz recommends getting approval from your company first, and then be sure you keep business and family expenses separate on the trip. For more information on traveling with kids, check out www.familytravelnetwork.com.
Quality time is tough to fit into a busy family schedule, especially when one or more parent travels a lot on business. So why not take the kids along with you on your next business trip? Family travel expert Eileen Ogintz joins us live in studio this morning with a look at this new trend in business travel. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we know kind of the disadvantages to taking your kids, kind of hard to focus on work, but there are so many advantages.
And so many people are doing it, 16 million a year. Well, so many that companies like Homewood Suites are developing a whole program around it.
Well, a good chance to teach your kids about your business or about different places. So let's talk about the tips, ways that you can do this successfully.
Okay, well, what you want to do first is book your trips wisely, because you want to make sure that you're not doing this when you're having a job interview or you're going to be working 24/7.
Okay.
Stay in a suite, because you'll have much more room. You can actually be working in one space. The kids could be jumping on the bed in the other, and they'd have their own TV. Pick out a company that's kid-friendly. As I mentioned, Homewood has things where they'll deliver groceries.
That's nice, so you don't have to go out and worry about all the restaurants.
Right, they'll have your refrigerator stocked for you. Or Southwest, you can fly the kids without an unaccompanied minor fee. If you're going to be a place where Southwest flies.
Is that just Southwest doing that? And some of the airlines do cater to parents and kids.
Well, all the airlines will be pretty good with parents and kids, but Southwest is one that doesn't charge a fee if you want to have your kids come and meet you. So there's no unaccompanied minor fee for that.
What do you need to do to talk to your kids, to prepare your kids when you're actually on the trip?
Well, you can tell them, just like they've got to get their homework and their chores done before they can play, you've got to get your work done. Now, if they're old enough, it's probably easier for them to understand that, but involve them in the planning so they know, well, mom or dad is working and I'm going to do this, and you can arrange something for them to do, or you can bring someone along with you to help, a spouse or your mom or your favorite teenage babysitter. But the more the kids are invested in the planning, the more cooperative they'll be. And use the opportunity to get to know them in a different way. You know, if you've got a kid who loves baseball, plan to go to a baseball game.
You bet.
Like that.
The more planning you do, I imagine, the more successful you're going to be at this. Because
Absolutely.
it helps when everyone knows what to expect.
Right. Definitely.
Okay. Any disadvantages that you should know ahead of time?
Well, obviously you want to check with your boss and make sure they're going to be
probably a good idea.
They're going to be okay with this. And you've got to be prepared, like anytime you travel with kids, in case one gets sick or something happens.
Yeah.
I mean, traveling with kids, it's like raising them. It's never exactly the way you expect it
and
to be.
And I imagine best in those like elementary years when, like we were just talking about, I have a 9-month-old. Not as easy to travel, a little bit more unpredictable when they're that small.
Definitely older when they can understand, and middle school. And consider taking one child at a time and make it a real special time for them, a really grown-up time
special, yeah.
with mom and dad.
Eileen, well, thank you for the tips this morning.
Happy travel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.